The hip-hop gangster culture that's pushed by MTV is so toxic, so destructive, so weaponized by different Western intelligence agencies on record. Those are big claims. You can just go look it up. That it has become the dominant new culture with the Arab gangs all over Europe. I've seen it with my own eyeballs, but following the news daily, I see it perpetually. A few years ago, London burning, other cities burning, Paris burning, with the young jihadis out. They're there to make their bones to show what superstars they are. And now it comes out that the reported terrorists, two of the shooters, put out a rap video. In fact, we have some of that footage for TV viewers. We'll roll some of that in the background. And this is just your average narcissistic, mentally ill type person who really wants to be somebody, who gets attracted to the narcissist-based gangster rap, which is basically like a cult brainwashing chant, where they have these very simplistic beats over and over again about how great you are, you're a god, you're the best, you're unstoppable, you're incredible. And when you have a culturalist, mindless population, I don't care if you're Arab, I don't care if you're a white Christian, a black Christian, I mean, whoever you are, an atheist, this stuff is designed to target young people, designed to make them think they're gods, and then when it doesn't deliver hip-hop stardom, when you don't become a Mac G, when you're living in a trash can because you're cool, when you're being inducted into the prison system, you get mad. And what I've noticed, and I've talked about this last year and this year, ad nauseum, is that it's a mixture of Al-Qaeda meets hip-hop, meets gangster thugism. Gotta love Al-Qaeda guys with their shorts hanging down over their butts like they're punks in prison, advertising their tail. That's what that means. And notice that fad's been around 30 years. It never goes away because you're being inducted into prison. You dress in a punk uniform so the police are alerted to you as an enemy, so you can be inducted directly into prison and then be gang raped as soon as you get there. Because I'll assure you, the people that are going to be raping you don't wear their drawers down hanging behind their booty. But see, it's what a sick joke the social engineers put out. They got a big, fat, fake Rick Ross up there, a former prison guard, who figured out, who was a prison guard over a bunch of black slaves, figuring out he could be a real slave master by inducting the brothers right into the assembly line of slavery. And then he steals the identity of a real gangster, Rick Ross, who, by the way, wore suits and ties and drove brand new Mercedes-Benz and didn't have his drawers hanging down over his butt, regardless of what you think about him. Because real gangsters don't have their drawers hanging down over their butt. You idiots! So in the final equation, this is a giant cultural warfare system with a bunch of radical jihadis with no future, feeling like second-class citizens in France, where the French are all snobs to each other. Imagine being an Arab there. You're invited in by the left to be a new socialist voting bloc because they pay you racial lip service. And now you want to be big stars, so you go out and you shoot 10 people at a newspaper because you go online and you watch the CIA / Interpol / NATO / Turkish / Israeli / behind the whole thing, Saudi Arabia, and they tell you, time to carry out jihad in France, my brothers. You're not going to be anybody as La Rapper, La Froggy. And I love watching these young wannabe rappers, white, black, Hispanic, Arab, it doesn't matter, with that same fake confidence. Yeah, I'm going somewhere. Yeah, I'm going to be somebody. Yeah. all a fake synthetic weapon developed inside DARPA to ruin you and your family, and it's done a great job. Kids, there's a lot of catchy beats in that music, and if you want to listen to it because you like the beats, that's great. But parents that just turn your kids over to it, and believe me, it's hard to keep my kids away from it because it's designed to catch young minds, unsophisticated minds. It's a mesmerizing mind control to then suck you into a culture to be a failure. And if you like what rap and hip-hop in its establishment version has done to the black community, don't worry, it's doing it to every community right now as you watch the world sink like we have a 1,000-pound rock around our neck and 100 feet of water. We are going to the bottom fast. And so, of course, a bunch of slimy rap was involved in this. That's up on Infowars.com. It's from the Gateway Pundit. Now, before we go to your phone calls, let's go ahead and go to ISIS video, CBS News. I mean, I have CNN News reporting on what callers talked about yesterday. We had a Marine call in and go, don't you remember 2 years ago, the Free Syrian Army being trained in Jordan by the Marines, and he listed the unit? In fact, pull that back up for me. Well, folks looked into it, and sure enough, looks like the group that trained these boys was trained by the Marine Corps. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. You know about the Marines' first major engagement after we were a country under Thomas Jefferson, the president? They were called leathernecks because they wore leather jackets with light armor that would protect their necks somewhat from glancing swords. And they went out and wouldn't pay the bounty to the jihadis of that day in the Mediterranean, but also in the Persian Gulf and off the coast of Africa on its east coast. And they went in there and, well, you know what the Marines did. Killed everybody. Engaged the pirates, who were openly backed by the Sheik of Morocco and all the rest of the crew. Of course, nowadays, Thomas Jefferson, if he was trendy, would just say, here's our daughters, have them. That's the thing you're supposed to do, because Thomas Jefferson would be macking the G's and humming down, yeah. All right, because Hollywood said it was cool. Fox News, you know, is even doing that, and Fox TV is betting everything they've got on promoting this type of garbage that's not even black culture. It's just synthetic, weaponized crap. Excuse me, I'm ranting. Let's go ahead and go to the CBS report. From where the terrorists come, from where they get their orders. Oh, the army funded by our degenerate criminal government. Here it is.
In a video released by ISIS just days ago, a French jihadi in Syria issued a chilling order.
Explosez la France. Réduisez la France en miettes.
Blow up France and tear it down to pieces, he said.
Que ce soit avec une pierre.
Do it with a stone or a knife or whatever you can get your hands on.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to be clear. There is a lot of hip-hop and rap that I think has good messages. But you notice all those rappers, whether it's Professor Griff or KRS-One or the real Rick Ross, or all these people will sit there and speak out against it, saying it's government-run to wreck communities. That's a fact. And I've talked to not one, not two, but more than two top executives that were in record companies, are in record companies, at MTV, major rock stars, you name it, that were in the room in the early 90s when they said rock and roll's out. The CIA doesn't think it's destabilizing things enough because they tried to hijack that. That's been declassified. Just like they had ugly art put out to confuse people. That was declassified last year. We already knew that. They said, we're going to put out the most sickening gangster rap you can imagine. It's going to be king. And it was force-fed by Sumner Redstone and Viacom. The tip of the spear. So that's why I attack it, because it is the weapon system, just like Rick Ross talked about a few months ago when he was here in studio. The real Rick Ross, who's going to be back in town coming up in a few weeks. The fake Rick Ross did respond, and I never talked about this a month ago. in a video and said that, you know what, I'm not responding when he was asked on a TV show. I'm not responding to that Rick Ross. Why, that guy was a snitch in prison. Well, number one, the real Rick Ross was not a snitch in prison, had to stay in there 25 years. Number two, he's been speaking out from prison against the drug war and apologizing and talking about the CIA and drug dealing. But number three, it was the fake Rick Ross that was a big fat jail guard at a federal prison over black people mainly, it turns out, who went and created this fake persona and then says he's this big drug dealer, Mac G roller, and then steals somebody's identity and then has the nerve to then sit there and claim that person's a snitch when the fake Rick Ross is the Judas goat. You know what a Judas goat is? It's the ram, the billy goat, that leads the other billy goats, or in the case, the male sheep, if it's sheep you're talking about, not goats, that leads them into the slaughterhouse and he goes out the other end safe. And Rick Ross is the worst.